Chapter 19 Bunny Brown and His Sister Sue at Christmas Tree Cove by Laura Lee Hope. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain.
Chapter 19 Another Storm. The two boys stopped their clam digging and stood staring at Sue, who was holding the basket of shellfish and looking at her brother and Harry. "I'm stuck fast!" cried Sue again. "I can't lift up either of my legs, Bunny. What shall I do?" "Is it a clam that has hold of you?" asked Harry. "Clams don't grab hold of you like crabs," declared Bunny. "Once a crab got hold of my toe, and it pinched like anything." "Maybe it's a crab then," said Harry. "This isn't a crab or a clam," said Sue, "but my feet are all tied in the mud and I can't lift them out. Look!" Sue struggled hard, trying first to lift one foot and then the other. She only swayed in the little pool of water that collected around her bare legs. "Oh, I know what the matter is!" exclaimed Bunny, as he looked again at his sister. "It's like getting into a muck hole in the swamp. There's a lot of soft sand and muck here on the flats, and you've stepped into one of the holes, Sue."
Shall I sink down through the hole all the way to China?" asked the little girl, and it looked like she might be going to cry, as she had the time she and Bunny were lost in the Christmas tree woods. "We'll get you up," said Bunny. "Come on, Harry. You take hold of Sue on one side, and I'll take hold of her on the other. Then maybe she can lift up her own legs." The boys went toward her. "Take the basket of clams," directed Sue. "I don't want to spill 'em." She handed Bunny the basket of soft clams which the two boys had dug, and Bunny set it on top of the pile of dirt that had been piled up as he and Harry dug holes to get at the shellfish. Then the two boys stood, one on either side of Sue, so she could put her hands on their shoulders. "Maybe we'll get stuck in the mud too," suggested Harry. "Oh, I guess not," said Bunny. "Anyhow, if we do, it'll be fun." Seeing Bunny and Harry about to help her, Sue felt better. She gave up the notion of crying and began to pull up, first on one foot, then on the other. At first it seemed that neither one would move, so sticky was the mud and muck. But at last Sue felt one giving, and she cried, "Oh, I'm getting loose! I'm getting loose, Bunny!" "Pull harder," directed her brother. "Pull as hard as you can." Just about this time, Mrs. Brown, who was sitting on the sand under the sun umbrella talking to Mrs. Slater, happened to look over toward the children, who had gone clam digging. She saw Bunny and Harry standing close to Sue, and she knew by the way the children were acting that something had happened. Then Mrs. Slater, too, looked toward the three children. "Is Harry in trouble again?" asked his mother. "No, this time it seems to be Sue," said Mrs. Brown. "I think she is stuck in the mud." "Is that serious?" asked Mrs. Slater, for she had not been to the seashore enough to know anything about clam digging. "Oh, there is no danger," said Mrs. Brown. "They may get very muddy, but they have on their bathing suits and can easily wash. However, we might walk over as near as we can go, so they may see us." "Very well," agreed Mrs. Slater. "I don't want Harry to be frightened again today." But she need not have worried. The children were laughing as Sue used the two boys like a pair of crutches to help her lift her feet from the muck. Soon she had pulled loose, and she held one foot out so she could see it. "Oh, look!" cried the little girl. "There's so much mud on my foot I can't see my toes wiggle." And this was really so. "It looks as if you had a black shoe on," added Bunny. "Come on now, you'd better step away from here if you don't want to get stuck again, Sue." "And I'm getting stuck myself," exclaimed Harry, as he felt one foot sinking. "Is it all like this on the clam flats?" "No," answered Bunny, "only in some places. It was all right where you and I stood." By this time Mrs. Brown and Mrs. Slater had reached the edge of the clam flats, and they saw that the three children were all right. Harry and Bunny again started to dig for the shellfish, and Sue held the basket for them. But she took care to stand on a big flat stone, so there was no more danger of sinking down.
"Mother!" cried Harry, when he saw Miss Slater with Miss Brown. "Digging clams is lots of fun, and Sue got stuck in the mud. "So we saw," his mother answered. "The seashore is a funny place. I don't seem to know what will happen on land or in the water." "Oh, it is all right when you get used to it," said Miss Brown, laughing. "Have you enough clams, Bunny?" "Not quite," he answered. "I like lots of 'em in my chowder." "Well, you may dig a few more." "We'll sit here and wait for you," said his mother, and finding a place on the shore where a clump of trees gave a little shade, she and Miss Slater sat down. Bunny, Sue, and Harry kept on digging. Sue fondly insisted on taking a turn with the shovel. "I'm coming to the seashore every year," declared Harry, as he dug out an extra large clam. "I guess my dog would like it here too. He's fond of water." "Where is your dog?" said Bunny. "I didn't see you have any. We didn't bring him with us 'cause he's lost," said Harry, leaning on his shovel. "He's an awful nice dog too. We were going to bring him here with us, but one day when we were out in the automobile he jumped out and ran away, and we never saw him again." "We had a dog, Splash, and he ran away too," said Sue. "My dog would carry things in his mouth," went on Harry. "He used to carry our paper, and sometimes he would take things you didn't want him to, and carry them away." "Oh, Bunny!" suddenly exclaimed Sue. "That's just what the big yellow dog did. He took Mother's pocketbook when we didn't want him to, and he carried it away. Maybe this is the same dog." "What kind of dog was yours?" asked Bunny of his new friend. "He was a big yellow one," was the answer. "But he was never here in this place before, because we were never here ourselves before this summer, so we couldn't have taken your mother's pocketbook." "But the pocketbook wasn't taken from here," said Bunny. "It was where we live, in Belmere. And it was a big yellow dog." "Could your dog run fast?" asked Harry. "Oh, yes, terribly fast. But what's that about your mother's pocketbook?" Bunny and Sue told the story by turns, how they had seen the dog running away with the pocketbook containing the $5 bill and their mother's diamond ring.
"And he ran into a carpenter's shop, and we ran in after him, and Mr. Foswick locked us in, and Buddy broke a window, and we had a terrible time," explained Sue. "I don't believe that was my dog," said Harry, "but Sandy, that was my dog's name, would carry away lots of things in his mouth. I wish I had him back. My father said he'd give a lot of money to find him, a reward, you know." "And I guess my father would give a reward if he could get back my mother's diamond ring," added Sue. "But he can't. Bunker Blue says it's gone forever." "Children, children," called Mrs. Brown from the shore. "I think we'd better go now. It is getting late, and it looks as if we might have another storm. Come along, you have clams enough." "Yes, I guess we have," said Bunny, looking in the basket. The children started for the mainland, stopping in a little pool to wash the mud off themselves and also to cleanse their shovels. Bunny sozzled the basket of clams in the water to wash them, and when Mrs. Brown explained how she made them into chowder, Mrs. Slater remarked, "I wish they served that at the hotel." "Won't you and Harry come over and have supper with us this evening?" asked Mrs. Brown. "We'll give you some of the chowder then." "Oh, yes, Mother, please do," begged Harry, and Mrs. Slater consented. "I'll tell you more about my lost dog when I come over tonight," called Harry to Bunny and Sue as they parted. That evening Mrs. Slater and her son Harry were guests of the Browns at supper, at which was served the chowder made from the clams dug by the children that afternoon. "It is delicious," said Mrs. Slater as she was helped to a second plateful. "I like it lots," declared Harry. "I guess Sandy would too, if he were here." "What's this about your dog being lost?" asked Mr. Brown, for he had heard the children talking about it. "We did lose a very valuable animal," explained Mrs. Slater. "We were out automobiling one day, and in driving through a place called Bellemere on Sandport Bay—" "Bellemere!" cried Bunny Brown. "Why, that's where we live." "That's where our dog was lost," said Mrs. Slater, smiling at him. "For some reason he leapt out of the auto and went bounding away down the street. My husband stopped and tried to get him back, but he would not come, and he has been lost ever since. Harry misses him very much." "What day was it that your dog ran away?" asked Mr. Brown, with a look at his wife. "Why, it was— let me see," answered Mrs. Slater slowly. "It was on—" Her words were interrupted by a loud crash of thunder that shook the bungalow, and all the electric lights suddenly went out. "Oh!" cried Bunny, Sue, and Harry all at the same time. "I presume we're in for another storm," said Mr. Brown. "Sit still until I light some candles. Often the electric lights go out in a severe thunderstorm." As Mr. Brown arose to strike a match, another loud clap of thunder pealed out. End of chapter 19.